Brian, given everything we've read and heard about outside the building for the past 5 months, I feel I need to ask, did Aaron Rodgers consult with you, or did you reach out and consult with Aaron about any of the moves you made yesterday?
You know, I've had really good conversations throughout camp with Aaron and Matt, and I think the communication has been really, really good. And so as we went into this...
That's Packers GM Brian Gutekunst right there. This is Interesting to See, your daily sports podcast about news, narratives, takes, and gambling. And if you're watching on YouTube or Instagram, you can see the smug smile on his face. All summer long, we heard about, is Aaron Rodgers, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? He just wants to be part of the process. Well, as cut day loomed, Brian Gutekunst says he's had conversations with Aaron Rodgers. He was asked, hey, did Aaron Rodgers consult on any of these cuts? And his face said, I know, he's such an a-hole. That's what his face says. Look at his face. Wait, should I fix this camera? I should fix this camera. Sorry about that. This is showbiz, baby. I feel like Bill O'Reilly. Wait, that's not enough. Okay, so, yeah, that's Brian Gutekunst saying, yeah, no, I didn't ask him because this is stupid and his whole thing was stupid. He just wants to play football with his friends, which is true. We're going to talk about some NFL news, but then today is all about college football. Remember, I'm putting a moratorium on pronouncing it football in October. So September, everybody can pronounce it football, but we're going to stop pronouncing the T in October because football will be back. College football is back tonight, so we're going to preview some stuff, win totals, team totals, predictions, gambling, storylines, mock drafts, all of that stuff, so you know what to watch for because there's games, there's stuff happening. But first, we need to talk about the National Football League. The New Orleans Saints are playing a couple games in Jacksonville. How did they pick Jacksonville? Everyone's like, hey, Texas. First of all, the NFL says, no, thank you. You are not allowed to play NFL football games at non-NFL stadiums unless we say so, and we want a bunch of money in Mexico or London. So they were not allowed to play at Ole Miss or Mississippi State or Baton Rouge if Baton Rouge is acceptable, which would make sense. Why would we want to have fun? Why don't we piss everyone off? Their temporary setup is usually in Texas. There's so much football in Texas and high school football stadiums in Texas and whatnot. And Sean Payton wants to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So hey, let's just do it in Arlington. We'll play at the Cowboys Stadium. Fine. Excuse you? Ed Sheeran has a concert. So don't know what to tell you. Actually, Ed Sheeran, far more popular than the NFL. Can't say that about a lot of things. Can totally say that about Ed Sheeran, though. So they picked Jacksonville. How did they pick Jacksonville? They wanted to think about a lot of things. Well, they're playing the Packers week 1. Last year, Aaron Rodgers, because of COVID, was able to draw the Saints off sides and get free plays against them in their own house because there were no fans there. So they were like, hey, screw Aaron Rodgers. This is dumb. So they specifically waited as long as they could and picked the most difficult destination for Wisconsinites to get to, which I respect. I absolutely respect that. But those people are everywhere, folks. Those Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers people are everywhere. Low key, the Packers are basically like the Cowboys. They have a bunch of non-fan fans, and it is the worst. So they're playing their games in Jacksonville. I love the pettiness of that. They looked at things in Florida, but this is so stupid. They should be playing in Mississippi or Texas. What are we doing? Or even Louisiana. There are college stadiums. We can't play games at non-NFL stadiums except for Tottenham. Jesus. All right, let's do some other stuff in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know what to make of Urban Meyer because I know he's a college coach and doesn't really understand how being a professional works, but he admitted that vaccination status was considered, well, that's a union violation. You're not allowed to do that per the haphazard addendum that the union and the league came up with. So the Jacksonville Jaguars issued a statement pending an investigation into Urban Meyer using this as a decision. So I kind of like that he said this because, duh, but he's not allowed to say it. So here's the statement from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll put it up on the screen, even though you can't see the whole thing. See, it looks like that. The Jacksonville, okay, I take it off. Quote, availability is one of the many factors taken into account when making roster decisions. We have vaccinated and unvaccinated players on our roster, and no player was released because of their vaccination status. This is the best 2 sentences ever. Ultimately, decisions are based on a player's ability to help the Jaguars win, period. We educate our players and respect personal decisions as it pertains to the vaccine, period. We want to keep our players, staff, and families safe as we comply with protocols related to both health and safety and competition on game days. So let's read this second thing again. We have vaccinated and unvaccinated players on our roster, and no player was released because of their vaccination status. Ultimately, decisions are based on a player's ability to help the Jaguars win. Those 2 sentences are contradictions. Of course they were released because of their vaccination status. They're not going to put up with you if you can't be on the team. If you can't be on the team for not getting a shot, what are we doing? Duh. Why do you think Cam Newton's not on the Patriots anime? It's super obvious. Bill's not going to mess around with the guy because he wants to go work out with the dude, and then he touched a dude who had COVID, and now he can't be there. Duh. Duh. Can't get vaccinated unless you're a superstar headed for the Hall of Fame right now in your prime. This is going to matter to you for sure. Bunch of vaccine stuff in the news. I don't really care to get into it except for the following two notes. There was a huge court case in Michigan because 4 Western Michigan women's soccer players said that they were too Christian to get the vaccine or something. Religious grounds is why they objected. The court agreed with them. So now I believe, I don't understand how the courts work, but I think they have to go through their Christian doctrine and prove that vaccines are un-Christian. I think is how that works. I think they literally will search through your religious exemptions under certain circumstances. Regardless, whatever. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I do care about this pettiness. Senior vice president of something for the Washington Nationals, he resigned rather than get the vaccine per a mandate by the Washington Nationals. He showed them he's going to quit his hundreds of thousands of dollars per year job instead of get the vaccine. You got me, buddy. He looks super old and fat, so definitely doesn't need the vaccine. All right, let's get to college football. Let me just make sure. Is there anything else I care about? Oh, yeah, the Mets had people get a DUI, obviously, because they are America's favorite mess. They're just the best. All right, college football time. Let's do college football. All right, we're going to run into some game lines for tonight. Later, I want to do team totals. These are the best bets according to Action Network. Notre Dame's over-under win total is 8.5 wins. That is a scary total for me because they are a playoff team every third year, almost a playoff team every other third year, and then every third year they're like a try-hard team. So 8.5 seems about right for me. I can't name any players that they have coming back except for the running back whose name is Kyron, something like that. He's really good. He'll be an NFL player. Kyle Hamilton is by far their best defensive player they've had in a long time, much better than Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He will be drafted highly. We'll talk about that in a second, and I can't name any of their other players. Other interesting win totals. Kentucky's over-under is 7. The SEC East is not good, and it's not getting better. Find that number fascinating. Oklahoma's got the best payout and odd combination to win the national title at plus 800. They're not going to win the national title. Bet on something that you could see visually happening, not something that oh, that'd be cool. Coastal Carolina, heavy favorites in the Sun Belt. Let's go through the conference favorites. Where do they go? Scrolling. Yes. So they are who you think they are, obviously, for the most part. Wait, what are we? NFL player props. I don't care about that. Oh, here we go. College football conference championship odds. I'm not interested in who's the favorite. It's pretty obvious for the most part. I'm interested in who's second. In the ACC, North Carolina and Miami are second by a huge number, and then Virginia Tech is considered a distant fourth place favorite. Oklahoma State and Texas are significantly behind Iowa State and Oklahoma, which is kind of fascinating. Iowa State's not going to win that, but that's really interesting. You root for the little brothers. Wisconsin, Iowa, Penn State, Indiana are all hovering around the same area. So it's Ohio State won by a lot, then Wisconsin, but then Iowa, Penn State, and Indiana are pretty similar. Michigan is there. Michigan won't win. Nebraska will win before Michigan wins, and they are almost already disqualified. The Mountain West, got to be proud of this. Wyoming is in second place in certain books to win the Mountain West at plus 400, right there with Nevada and Boise State. Nevada has a quarterback that will get a chance to play on Sundays. He is an excellent prospect. Alabama's going to win the SEC, so who cares? It goes Alabama, Georgia, and then a huge gap in A&M, and then a huge gap Florida, and then a huge gap Ole Miss. Okay. Any other conferences? Let's look at favorites for the national championship. Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. Irrelevant. Storylines to watch in college football. Let's look at some draft prospects. This is important in case you're like, hey, well, who's going to play on Sundays? Well, there are a bunch of quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks. Sam Howell, North Carolina. Spencer Rattler, Oklahoma. Matt Corral, Ole Miss. Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't know how he wants to pronounce his name. He's the best defensive end in college football. He plays for Oregon, the largest offensive tackle humanly possible. Evan O'Neal for Alabama. That dude, I can't describe to you how big he is. Kyle Hamilton is the best overall safety in college football that we've had in a long time. He's sort of like Jamal Adams, but what if he could cover? The best cornerback prospect perhaps ever, Derek Stingley Jr. from Louisiana State. He would have been a top 10 pick as a freshman out of college. Other interesting draft prospects include North Carolina State. Ikem Ekwonu is his name. North Carolina State always had, he's a guard. He's huge. He's a run blocking specialist. They always have good prospects, and North Carolina State games occasionally are interesting because they have great prospects. Carson Strong, excellent quarterback name. That's the quarterback for Nevada. And I mean, that is a superb quarterback name, Carson Strong. By the way, I don't know what the SEC and Big Ten are doing, but the Mountain West has better quarterbacks than you, like pretty much always. Like Jordan Love looked good. Josh Allen can play. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand that at all. Anything else interesting for draft prospects? Yeah, the Liberty quarterback, I forget his name, but he plays for Hugh Freeze, and apparently he's got one of the best arms ever, and arm talent, you like to watch that happen. So it might be worth turning into a Liberty game to watch some really great arm talent. I love arm talent. My take on arm talent is that everybody thinks they can turn it into something. It's like the bad boy you think you can change. And sometimes it's true, but Josh Allen is the only one that's ever really taken the leap in the National Football League. So we'll see how it goes. I'm scrolling through Bleacher Report's biggest storylines for the college football season, and I just wanted to highlight this one. Let's bring it up. This article was written preseason sometime. Okay, let's read it together. Number 19, Nebraska versus Ohio State. Yes, turn it up. Nebraska's offense has been very good, but can be slowed as demonstrated by Wisconsin. 3 out for 4 quarters. Oh, man. That just makes me sad. They already lost to Illinois. Fire Scott Frost, right, everybody? And we'll wrap up with who's favored in the games coming up tonight. There's a game last night. I don't know who it was. I think UAB and some. I guess we could Google it. This is a Sports Show College. Football. Yes, this is a podcast. This is the podcast vibe I want. UAB beat Jackson State. Oh, Dion. Dion is the head coach of that. Barstool Sports is doing kind of a Hard Knocks, but more fun because it's about Dion coaching a historically black college. That's Jackson State. They got waxed by UAB. He's trying to make HBCs more legit, and that's the thing that's happening. It's happening in college basketball too. Higher recruits are considering HBCs more than ever, which I kind of like that. But it's so far not successful. Okay, let's look at lines for tonight. College football returns in earnest, which is a sentence that I don't quite understand. There either is college football or there isn't. Okay, Thursday night, September 2nd, Temple versus Rutgers. Huge game because people are asking, is Rutgers legit? Are they a real football team? They are favored by 15 points against Temple. This is a massive game for Rutgers because Temple gets a lot of guys from the Philadelphia area that are either like lowly recruited, like, hey, come walk on at Penn State. But Rutgers needs those guys. Rutgers would be the best team in the country pretty much always if they won Philly and New Jersey, but they never win the recruits there. If you have a college football team that you love and you're good, ever, some of your best players are from New Jersey, and Rutgers needs to figure that out. So that's kind of a big game. I think Rutgers is going to cover the spread for sure. 15 is a lot. Temple's going to cover the spread. 15 is a lot. Boise State's playing Central Florida, which was a really fun game when they scheduled it 7 years ago, but this is why we shouldn't schedule games 7 years out. No one cares now. Eastern Carolina, App State. Eastern Carolina is a 10-point dog on the road at App State. I think that's probably not enough. App State probably smokes them. South Florida, 19-point underdog against NC State. Should be good for NC State, though. I follow NC State on Twitter, like some of their Barstool people and some of their other fans, and they're really worried that no one's going to go to the game and that no one's going to care. So maybe they have a bad student section. I don't know. Tennessee is favored by 35 over Bowling Green. Hammer Bowling Green. I don't care how bad they are. Tennessee should never be favored by more than a touchdown. What? Okay. Ohio State, number 4 on the road at Minnesota. Ohio State is a 2-touchdown favorite, excuse me. Yeah, it seems right. Minnesota's little moment in the sun is probably over. North Carolina, number 10 in the country, 6-point favorites on the road at Vautech. I love Vautech here. North Carolina's over-under win total is 9.5. People think they're going to win 10 games this year. They're supposed to take second in the ACC. I'm calling BS on that. I think Virginia Tech's down home cooking. I think it's going to be better. I think they're just a better football team. Sam Howell's going to play football on Sundays. He's going to be a franchise quarterback probably. I think Vautech beats him. I don't know what you think. That game, that's going to be a fun game. 6 p.m., no way. 6 p.m.? Oh, no. Okay. North Carolina Vautech. My apologies, everyone. That's 6 p.m. on Friday night. That'll be really fun, Friday Night Lights. Other games coming up during the week we'll preview. Duke and Charlotte, Old Dominion, Wake Forest. Maybe I'll go to that game. I live in Wake Forest area. Michigan State, Northwestern. Oh, my God. Northwestern 3-point favorites. Not enough. Army and Georgia State are the first game of the weekend on college football Saturday. And that's our little college football preview. We'll take a look at some other storylines as they continue. For the most part, I really like watching draft prospects and see if I can guess the same things as the experts. I also like win totals. I don't gamble on college football games or teams. I gamble on awards. My Heisman Trophy winner with my heart is Matt Corral, but with my brain, I want to go with I forget the guy's name, Crawford, Clifford, whoever the quarterback is for Penn State. That seems right. So like a quarterback you haven't heard about yet that makes sense. Maybe you'll take a step forward. It's going to be somebody you haven't heard of. That's what I'll bet it in an Uber when I'm drunk like I did last time. Like, rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, make your boss listen to it, email. Really appreciate any help I can get spreading the word. I'll be back and better than ever with more college football tomorrow and whatever else tickles my fancy.